right now on 5 on Your Side at 10.
Justice for Janae.
I wish that you give Daniel Riley, the man who changed my life forever, the max.
Tonight, a guilty verdict in the Daniel Riley trial, just hours after heartbreaking testimony where the Tennessee teen and her mother shared with the jury the physical and emotional scars he caused.
I was screaming because I couldn't feel my body, and I was screaming because I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what. I lost it because I just see my baby lose both of her legs.
Good evening. I'm Mike Bush. Kelly Jackson has the night off. It took the jury just over 3 hours to find Daniel Riley guilty for the horrific crash that left Janae Edmondson, a once promising volleyball player, relearning how to walk on prosthetic legs. Riley was convicted of 2 felonies and 1 misdemeanor charge, and about an hour ago, that same jury recommended a sentence of nearly 19 years in prison. We have live team coverage tonight on today's emotional testimony and how this case altered the circuit attorney's office in St. Louis. Let's start with Laura Barczewski, who was in the courtroom throughout the afternoon and evening for the verdict and sentencing phase. Laura.
Mike, the jury found Daniel Riley guilty on 4 of 5 counts, and Riley's family was visibly upset and in tears as this verdict was read, and one of his supporters actually had to leave the courtroom. It was really hard to see Riley's expression as this was happening because he was wearing a mask. The Edmondsons, however, tell me they were very stressed waiting for this verdict, but relieved with the result. Janae Edmondson and her family got one last chance to speak to the jury before they headed back to deliberate a sentence for Daniel Riley. Janae's 3 siblings could not be here Thursday, but prosecutors read their joint statement saying they're still heartbroken over the crash that changed their lives.
If you had asked us 1 year ago if we had anything to be grateful for, we would have said no. But today we stand together eternally grateful that Janae is still alive. We are grateful that our dad was able to utilize his military training to save her. We're grateful that Janae found the strength to adapt to her new life.
And while she's adapting, her mom, Francine, says nothing will be easy for Janae ever again and had one plea for the jury.
When we're in St. Louis at the hospital, after she had just first woke up, she said to me that day, "Mom, please make sure he doesn't get out. Don't let him do this to anyone else."
Janae herself was in tears as she spoke to the jury one last time, explaining how she can no longer do the simple things like walk or shower standing up.
I wake up in the morning every day, and I'm immediately reminded of what happened. And I never want anyone to experience the pain, the sadness, and the helplessness I felt. But one positive I have gained from this journey is my faith in Jesus.
The Edmondsons all asked the jury for the maximum prison sentence they could provide, but her father, James, says nothing will ever be enough for him.
Because he will still be able to walk, even after the time that you guys in the court give him. He'll be able to run, he'll be able to bend, he'll be able to do all those things. My daughter will not.
Daniel Riley and his attorneys declined to make a final statement, and the jury again recommended nearly 19 years in prison. Now it's up to the judge to make the final decision, which is scheduled for April 18th. The judge did give the defense an additional 10 days to file their appeal, and Riley was able to hug his mom before the deputies led him away. Reporting live downtown, Laura Barczewski, 5 on Your Side.
Within the hour, St. Louis Circuit Attorney Gabe Gore released a statement reacting to the verdict and the sentencing recommendation. Gore says Daniel Riley showed complete disregard for human life and the decisions he made to get behind the wheel of a car without a driver's license and recklessly ignore the speed limit and traffic signs. His choices had catastrophic consequences for Janae Edmondson and her family. While this verdict will not restore their loss, it will hold Riley accountable. Gore has scheduled a news conference for tomorrow morning. Prior to handing down a sentence, the jury heard Janae Edmondson speak publicly for the first time. She and her mother discussed the moments that led to the crash and how her father stepped in to help. 5 on Your Side's Brent Solomon continues our team coverage with their emotional testimony.
Well, Mike, both the mother and daughter battling tears as they spoke candidly about the night their lives changed forever. They were walking to the car to go get food, never imagining what would happen next. Heading to the stand in her wheelchair, Janae Edmondson gave the final testimony of the 3-day trial.
I couldn't feel my body at all, like my back, my hips, or anything. I couldn't feel.
The now 18-year-old vividly recalls the moment she got knocked to the ground while walking in downtown St. Louis.
I felt something hit me. Well, I heard my dad screaming, and he was tying something really tight around my legs. I didn't know what it was.
That's when her father started yelling for help and quickly worked to apply a tourniquet to her legs.
God, please don't let her die. That's the first thing I thought.
Janae's mother told the court before the impact, they could hear a roaring engine approach. Janae told her parents to watch out. They tried to get out of the way, but the teenager was struck.
I lay down on the ground on my stomach and I lifted her head up because her face was on the ground. And when I pulled her up, I turned her around. And her eyes were so weak, I didn't know if she was going to make it. I kept telling her, open your eyes, Janae. Keep your eyes open the whole time. I said, don't close your eyes. And the first thing she said was, Mom, I don't feel my legs.
Janae remembers getting into the ambulance and following her mother's advice not to close her eyes, although she couldn't grasp the extent of what was actually happening.
I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what.
Since last year's crash, the teen graduated from high school with honors. She had to have surgery on her 18th birthday. And although she's not attending the college she received a volleyball scholarship to play for, she's enrolled in another school and serves as a manager on that school's volleyball team.
Prosecutors said in closing statements that it was a miracle that Janae survived the crash. Our legal analyst, Scott Rosenblum, talked to 5 on Your Side tonight about the effects of those emotional impact statements.
I think obviously it's going to have a significant impact. I mean, look, the optics of this case were extraordinarily bad from the beginning. And those optics continue throughout the case. And this is a tragedy that this young lady is going to have to live with the rest of her life. I understand the defense put on a plausible defense, but I don't think it was a defense that was going to carry the day.
Rosenblum told us in a case like this, he would expect a significant sentence. This case set off a chain of events that led to a major shakeup in the St. Louis Circuit Attorney's Office. Our political editor, Mark Maxwell, is here with more on how this case shocked the city and brought major change. Mark?
Mike, the devastating nature of that grisly high-speed crash, then Kim Gardner's defensive deflections to the visceral public response, then the dereliction of duties in her office that snowballed into an avalanche of disappointment in the justice system. All of that added insult to Janae Edmondson's tragic injuries. You add it all together, it quickly became the most toxic, perhaps powerful political story the city has seen in a decade. St. Louis Mayor Tashara Jones quickly distanced herself from Gardner in the aftermath. Republican Attorney General Andrew Bailey demanded her resignation, then kicked off a legal effort to force her out. At first, Gardner refused to leave. Then an effort in Jefferson City would have subjected her to the oversight of a special prosecutor. That was when she finally bowed out.
And we also learned a lot about the inner workings of the prosecutor's office.
Yeah, the glaring spotlight of scrutiny here really revealed just how understaffed they were, how backlogged and demoralized they were in that office, how distracted Kim Gardner was. Daniel Riley was not the only suspect violating the terms of his bond at the time of all this, and Janae Edmondson was not the only victim hurt by someone who Gardner's office failed to prosecute. The whole sobering saga really underscored 3 major things here. 1, who we put in government jobs matters. 2, how elected officials respond in crisis matters. Had Kim Gardner expressed grief or outrage or even determination to hold Daniel Riley or herself accountable, perhaps she might still have her job today. And then 3, solid reporting and public outcry can affect change. Now, Gabe Gore, Governor Parsons' pick for that job, has secured a criminal conviction in a case that, frankly, never should have happened.
We know that Gabe Gore is scheduled to address the press tomorrow morning. But we also know this judge who was involved in this case has been in the weeds before.
Yeah, almost a full circle moment here. This judge who guided the jury through this case, Michael Noble, he was the same judge who delivered that iconic line telling Kim Gardner that her office was a rudderless ship of chaos. Noble was also, people may remember this, he was a finalist to be considered to replace her and instead he remained on the bench and now has a hand in steering that ship a little closer toward justice.
All right, Mark, thanks very much. And our coverage continues now on KSDK.com. That's where you can watch Janae's entire emotional testimony and victim impact statement. You can also watch it on our YouTube page and on 5 Plus, which is free on Apple, Roku, and Fire TV. You can scan the QR code on your screen and we'll send you a link. Well, we are in a weather alert tonight. Heavy rain is moving through the bi-state, and it's going to stick around through tomorrow. While it's much needed, it could cause you some issues on the roads. There's even a chance for some thunder. Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell joins us now with that Weather First forecast.
And Mike, we actually saw our first lightning strike from the radar in just the last 15 or 20 minutes or so down to the southwest of St. Louis, down into Franklin County. We'll show you that area of rain. It's pushing in through Jefferson County and into the southern portions of the metro area. And yes, the roads are wet. Now, it'll look a lot different here at 141 and 55 tomorrow morning in Arnold because more rain will be spreading in and traffic will pick back up, and that'll create our problems for the morning rush hour tomorrow. Here are those showers lifting northeast from Cedar Hill, running on up towards Fenton right now. That's where you might hear a rumble of thunder. Farther north and west of St. Louis, there's been a pretty good area of rain, while off into the metro east, it's been much more scattered. This is part of a larger system that's going to be impacting the region. You see the line that's more concentrated here over the Ozarks, really along and just north and west of 44 down towards Springfield. That's weakening as it's shifting off to the east this evening. And so that's where we may hear some thunder. And yes, it's waves of rain as we head into tomorrow and even into tomorrow night. But the good news is we need the rain. We're getting it. Bad news, it's going to make the morning rush hour pretty sloppy and slow tomorrow morning. Severe weather, though, not expected. And the rain will be moving out very early on Saturday. We'll time it out for you in a few minutes, Mike.
And remember, you can get the latest Weather First forecast anytime. Just text the word weather to 314-425-5355. We'll send it straight to your phone.
I'm in pain, a lot of pain.
He was thrown from a car in a downtown crash, and tonight he's reliving the pain and giving thanks. State of the Union, President Biden's message to America as he gears up for a November rematch against former President Trump. New tonight, authorities investigating the death of a 17-year-old boy being held at the St. Charles County Juvenile Justice Center. Officials say the teen died in his sleep. His mother says he suffered from epilepsy.
My son was being held at the juvenile detention facility without the proper health necessities and care that he needed. He was on medication and he was not given his medications.
There's no evidence whatsoever of any foul play. What I would say to those folks is I would assure you that everybody who works at that juvenile justice center is really concerned about the safety and well-being of these kids.
Officials say finding a cause of death could take weeks. They add they're following a state-mandated child fatality review process. Tonight, St. Louis police are investigating after a man and a woman were found dead inside a South City home. The discovery made this morning on Christie Avenue near Christie Park in the Bevo neighborhood. We still don't know how they died. Police are not releasing any other information right now. Tonight, a Metro East man is out of the hospital and reliving being thrown from a truck during a deadly car crash in downtown St. Louis. This happened a week ago tonight near Convention Plaza and the Dome at America Center. New tonight, the grateful survivor is talking only to our Robert Townsend.
He's only 32 years old and now a weak Blake Wyndham needs help getting out of a truck.
I shouldn't have a walker at 32 years old.
He carefully leans on his girlfriend and a buddy and uses a walker to make it inside his home in East St. Louis.
I'm in pain, a lot of pain.
Wyndham says last Thursday night, he and his 62-year-old uncle, Gregory Lane, were in a friend's truck when they picked up dinner and traveled eastbound on Convention Plaza. But they never made it home because police say Antoine Foster drove down the downtown street and crashed into the truck carrying Wyndham and his uncle.
Was that the scariest thing you'd ever been through?
Yes.
Blake, the passenger, was thrown from the white truck. He suffered multiple injuries, including a broken femur to his right leg, back fractures, a head injury, and road rash on his hands and arms.
I believe I blacked out when I was strong. Because I came out of a big, thick window.
His uncle also suffered serious injuries.
Every time I close my eyes, I'm thinking I'm waking up back in the hospital bed. So I'm traumatized.
Foster's car rolled on its roof during the crash. The 59-year-old died at a hospital.
I don't know what was going on with him or what was causing him to drive that fast because we were parked. I'm actually real happy that I'm still here.
Grateful he can still be a dad to his 10-year-old son and 13-year-old daughter. Robert Townsend, 5 on your side.
And that crash happened just blocks away from the wreck that caused Janae Edmondson to lose her legs last year, and weeks after a Chicago mother and daughter were killed in a crash near 18th and Olive. Tonight, President Biden delivered his third State of the Union address, delivering one of the most important speeches of his political life. It was his chance to deliver a strong message to the American people amid low approval numbers and concerns over his age ahead of a general election rematch with former President Trump.
I came to office determined to get us through one of the toughest periods in the nation's history. We have.
The president touted his accomplishments on the economy. He also vowed to fight for reproductive rights. The president addressed both family members of Israeli hostages in the audience, and lawmakers from his own party outraged over the suffering in Gaza. The president also pressed House GOP members to pass aid for Ukraine, as well as funding for Israel and the U.S. southern border. Senator Katie Britt of Alabama, the youngest ever GOP woman elected to the U.S. Senate, delivered the Republican response, calling President Biden out of touch.
Under his administration, families are worse off, our communities are less safe, and our country is less secure. The country we know and love seems to be slipping away, and it feels like the next generation will have fewer opportunities and less freedoms than we did. I worry my own children may not even get a shot at living their American dreams.
Former President Trump delivered his response tonight on Truth Social. Just hours before the State of the Union, the U.S. Senate passed legislation that will give compensation to local victims of radioactive waste exposure. Senator Josh Hawley has been spearheading the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act. That bill will now head to the U.S. House. Congresswoman Cori Bush says she looks forward to championing the bill. We remain in a weather alert. Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell tracking more rain and storms in the Weather First forecast. Scott.
And Mike, the good news is we're not expecting severe weather here, but it should be pretty widespread rain for tomorrow morning's rush hour. That's really going to slow things down. And because of weather across the middle part of the country, things are a little slower tonight at Lambert. See, all those southwest plains are still lit up this evening. That means they're running a little bit behind. Usually this time of night, things are starting to settle down at Lambert, but the flights are still coming in, just delayed. We have rain across the area. Really, the weather here in St. Louis is not enough to be causing significant problems for those flights. But you see more rain sliding in from the south and southwest. We had that little area here that's now working its way from about Fenton over towards Arnold and into South County. That is actually potentially producing a couple of rumbles of thunder. That's about it in terms of thunder, but the rain has picked up downtown. Off to the east of St. Louis, we're also looking at some scattered showers. Then farther to the north and northwest of St. Louis, it's been much more widespread in terms of rainfall across the region during the day today. Right now, still at 55 degrees, high relative humidity, southeast breeze, pretty stiff. We've had just a few hundredths of an inch, less than a tenth of an inch at Lambert. Most of the rain has been north and west. We're only dropping a few more degrees tonight as temperatures slide back into the lower 50s. We'll be in the 50s most of tomorrow, low 60s for highs. The weather alert continuing through tomorrow, especially for the rush hour in the morning, potentially even the rush hour tomorrow evening. It's a two-pronged system here. The first part sliding our way right now, lasting into tomorrow. And then for tomorrow night and on into, let's say, early Saturday, the backside of this system will be sliding through. That will mainly impact areas south and southeast of St. Louis. How much rainfall? We need rain, and we're going to get a good half an inch to an inch out of this system through Saturday. Roughly the heaviest amounts are along 44 right into St. Louis and then off to the east and northeast of town. The drought monitor came out today. We really need this rainfall. It does scatter out those showers and storms that are back to our west. They kind of fizzle a little bit overnight, and then another area pushes in as we head towards the rush hour tomorrow morning. That makes it pretty soggy for the morning hours. Once again, tomorrow afternoon, it scatters out a bit. The question is later tomorrow into tomorrow night where the focus for the heavier rain will be. Probably going to be off to the south and southeast of St. Louis and pushing away very quickly on Saturday. But it's much cooler Saturday as temperatures will only be in the upper 40s and lower 50s. So your next 10 days, we're springing forward this weekend. We'll do so on Sunday with chilly conditions, seasonable, but we will be looking at highs only in the 50s this weekend. And
yeah, but look later in the week.
Yeah, and then it gets back to the 70s. So wet tomorrow morning for the commute for sure.
All right, Scott, thanks. Corey is next with sports.
Well, the Blues had a deadline eve date with the Devils. The Cardinals got a couple of big blasts today in Jupiter. And we have lots and lots of basketball to break down. Stick around, sports is up next.
This 5 on Your Side Sports Report is sponsored by Telly Tire and Auto Centers, driving your way since 1942.
While the clock counts down to tomorrow's NHL trade deadline at 2 p.m., the Blues are in limbo. Are the playoffs in reach? Sure. Do they also have some assets that likely have Doug Armstrong's phone ringing off the hook? Also, yes. They came into today 6 points out of a playoff spot and on the road at New Jersey. You can't ask for much more from Jordan Binnington in net this season. Binner has simply been awesome. The Devils had tonight's star, though, and his name is Timo Meier. Nifty backhand past Binner. That's his first goal. Another Meier goal after that. Blues get on the board. Brandon Saad converts after a shot rings off the post. 2-1 Devils. And in the second, Meier's going to complete the hat trick pretty early with a snipe. Devils added an empty netter. They win 4-1.
They want an easy game, and it's not going to be easy, and we have to play harder. Like we have to be, physically more accountable to each other and harder to play against. And in the first period tonight, we were easy to play against.
Taking flight, Card Spring Training, sponsored by Woods Basement Systems.
Spring training today, Cardinals and Astros. Kyle Gibson got knocked around a bit. 4 runs in the first inning against Houston, but he did have 2 scoreless frames after that. The Cardinals had 1 spring homer coming into today. Now they have 3. Jordan Walker, moonshot. Matt Carpenter also going to go yard in this one. Cards lose 6-3, and with that first Jordan Walker homer of 2024, it's hard not to get excited about the 21-year-old again, especially now with a year of big league experience under his belt.
I think it was really helpful for me, at the big level, the pitching, it's different. So things, you can get away with in the minors, you can't get away with up there for sure.
He looks like an absolute beast right now. I mean, he looks strong, he's healthy, he's driving the baseball, his outfield play looks better.
It is tournament season in college basketball, and we were not short on some madness tonight. From the A10 to the OVC and, of course, Arch Madness at Enterprise, it was time to win or go home. SLU women facing George Washington in the first round of the A10 tourney. Remember, the Billikens went on a wild run to win this tournament last year. They needed a fourth quarter comeback today. 3 from Brooklyn Gray. That's going to cut the lead. Bills kept chipping away. Kyla McMakin, she was on fire. Tough and one that helped put SLU ahead. She had 22, and SLU wins 75-68 to advance. SIUE trying to keep their season alive in the OVC tourney quarterfinals against Morehead State. Cougars down early, but they'd fight back. DeMarco Minor, that's good for a tough 3. And then the Collinsville kid, Rayshawn Taylor, is going to get a triple to go himself. Right now, SIUE is down by about a dozen. Arch Madness kicked off today at noon. Missouri State taking on Murray State. Alton Donovan Clay with a dunk off the touch pass. The Bears controlled this game with their defense, but Alston Mason led the way on offense with 22. The Racers shot just 2 of 20 from 3. Missouri State wins 60-35. Southern Illinois facing UIC in the first round of Arch Madness. Lukey's were in trouble early. This 3 from UIC made it a 14-point game just before the half. But SIU clawed back in the second half thanks to Xavier Johnson. Tough layup to take the lead, and then a big-time three-pointer to help extend that lead. Now this one is still close down the stretch at last check. Salukis had a slim 1-point lead with just about 20 seconds left. Illinois State and Evansville looked like we might get some real madness in this one, but Evansville hung on with some late drives and a couple of clutch free throws. Evansville moves on with a 59-53 win. We'll be right back after the break.
It's going to be raining. Scott has a final check of the weather.
And we do have some rain out there right now, maybe even a couple of rumbles of thunder. You won't have to worry about severe weather tonight. That's the good news. And we badly need the rain. Problem is tomorrow morning for the rush hour, it is going to be soggy. Widespread heavier rain moving through the area during the morning rush hour. It will slow traffic down tomorrow. We'll be in the 50s and we'll head back into the low 60s for highs. Most of that rain's pushing out of here very early on Saturday, and the rest of the weekend will just be chilly, seasonably so. Highs only in the 50s.
All right, Scott, thanks. There you have it. 5 on your side at 10, a late edition. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is next. Don't forget to start your day with Today in St. Louis beginning at 4 a.m. And have a great tomorrow.